Standard 6th, Lesson number 5, Substances in the Surroundings, Their States and Properties. By the end of this lesson, you will know what a material is, and also you will come to know what is meant by property. Today, in this lecture, we are going to do states of matter. Everything in the surrounding is made up of matter. Matter comes in three different states: solid, liquid, and gas. Solids are hard or firm and have a shape. Liquids can flow and can be poured. Gases can flow and they spread out quickly. The three states of matter which are mentioned in lesson number 5 are solid, liquid, and gas. More than 2000 years ago, a Greek philosopher called Democritus suggested this hypothesis. All matter, living and non-living, is made of tiny particles too small to be seen. His idea was that if you kept cutting something into smaller and smaller pieces, you would eventually come to the smallest possible particles, the building blocks of the matter. He used the word atomus, which in Greek means cannot be divided, to describe these finest particles. Look at the picture of the atom, which is an indivisible, means cannot be further divided. 2000 years ago, Democritus said that smallest particle that cannot be divided is an atom. That means the word atom means indivisible. Matter is everything that is around us. Matter is what the world is made of. Atoms are the basic building blocks of ordinary matter. Atoms can join together to form molecules, which in turn forms most of the objects around you. Atoms are composed of particles called protons, electrons, and neutrons. Matter is made up of atoms and molecules. Molecules are atoms of more than two elements that are chemically bonded together. Each atom is a certain element that becomes a compound or molecule when bonded with each other atoms. So matter is made up of one type of element or combination of elements. The point here is, so much we did, but what is matter? Matter is anything that has mass and takes us space. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Example of mass: the term mass is used to refer to the amount of matter in any given object. For instance, a person or object may be weightless on the moon because of the lack of gravity, but that same person or object maintains the same mass regardless of location. Look at the picture. The mass is 50 kg. Weight, mass on Mars is again same, 50 kg only, but the weight differs. So this is what is the difference between mass and weight. Weight is how heavy something is or how much mass it has. An example of weight is when a person is 100 pounds. Look at another example of mass and weight. The mass is same whether it is on Earth, Moon or space, whereas the weight is differing in Earth, Moon and space. Solids, liquids and gases have two important properties. They all have mass and they all take up space. Solids include steel, books, and most of the objects you can see. They all have mass and occupy space. The shape and volume of most solids cannot be easily changed. Powders are also solids, but their shape can be changed. Liquids. Water, milk, and oil are all examples of liquids. The volume of a liquid does not change, but its shape can. Liquids take on the shape of the container they are in. Gases. The air around us is a gas. Gases have mass and occupy space. Gases do not have fixed shape or volume. A gas fills its container no matter what the shape or size of the container. Example, a balloon. Gases can be compressed. The cylinder what comes into our respective houses, that is butane gas, which is in compressed form inside a cylinder. Here on the screen you can see the difference between solid, liquid and gas. In solids, particles are very closely, tightly packed. The only movement are tiny vibration to and fro, whereas in liquids, it can move about, the slide past each other. They are not in a fixed pattern. The forces that hold them together are weaker than those in a solid. In gases, particles are far apart and they move about very quickly. The attractive forces between particles are very weak. The particles collide with each other and the walls of the container. That means everything is made from some sort of material. Materials are made up of lots and lots of tiny pieces. These tiny pieces are known as particles called molecules, which are made from atom. And you saw that atom is the smallest indivisible particle. Solids, liquids and gases are all made up of lot of molecules. Anything around us that has mass and volume is called a matter. Mass is the amount of the material in the substance, whereas volume is the amount of space an object takes. All matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms that are constantly moving. Plasma is another type of matter. Plasma makes up 99% of the universe. It consists of charged particles that are even further apart than the particles in a gas. You don't see much plasma on Earth because it requires very high temperatures. The sun is made of plasma, as are all the stars. Lightning is a type of plasma that occurs naturally on Earth. A plasma is an ionized gas and is the most common form of matter in the universe, since the insides of stars are plasma. Solids. A solid is something that we can hold on to. A solid keeps its shape unless we cut it or shape it ourselves. In a solid, all the particles are packed together very tightly. Solids are hard and keep their shape. Example, rocks, plastic and metals are all falling into the category of solids. A solid is a matter that has a definite size and shape. For example, if you put a sneaker in a box, it stays the same. A solid has a definite mass, definite shape. It does not flow and it is hard to be compressed. Examples of solids: chair, tree, backpack, hat, car, etc. Liquids. A liquid has a definite mass. Its volume does not change. It's hard to be compressed, but it flows easily. The shape of the liquid changes and it takes the shape of the container it is poured in. Liquids can flow and take the shape of their container. Example, water, blood, and orange juice are all examples of liquids. A liquid takes the shape of any container. Example, pour juice into a glass, the juice will take the shape of the glass. Therefore, liquids are runny, they can be poured, the particles are less tightly packed, so they can move about. If poured from one container to another, they will take the shape of their new container. Examples of liquids are milk, ocean, rain, river, etc. Gas. A gas has a definite mass too. Its volume vary and it takes the shape of the container holding it. It flows easily and it can be compressed. Examples of gases are smoke, cloud, steam, etc. Gas is a matter that has no definite shape. Gases take the shape of whatever container they are in. Example, the air all around us is a gas. Gases are everywhere and can fill any container. Example, air, water vapor, and helium are all gases. The particles in gases have lots of room to move. Gases are all around us. They spread into all of the empty places they can. Most are invisible. An example of water. Water can be a solid, liquid, or a gas. When it is cold, it is solid ice. When it is at room temperature, it is a liquid water. When it is hot, it is a gas, steam. So do you observe something is taking place? Transition is taking place from solid to liquid, liquid to steam. Let's understand it in a better way. The particle theory of matter. It stated that matter is made from particles. The particles are so tiny that they cannot be seen by naked eyes. Different substances are made from different particles, have different sizes. The particles are atoms and molecules. Physical changes. Physical, which is visible with your naked eyes. Physical change is a reversible kind of change in state of matter by heating or cooling. You can see in the picture the liquid, the solid, the gas. The solid, liquid and gas in the picture are having condensation, evaporation, melting, solidification, sublimation, deposition. We will be learning that in detail. When a solid is heated, it loses its shape and starts to flow. The temperature at which melting takes place is called melting point. You can see a chocolate melting, you can see a butter melting, you can see an ice melting. You can see with your eyes. The changes is visible. Did sharpening of this pencil change the type of matter in it? No. Sharpening the pencil only changed how it was shaped, not the elements inside. The pencil went through a physical change. Therefore, physical change alters the form of an object without changing what type of matter it is. Physical changes will happen more easily or less easily depending on the temperature. If you keep the butter outside in the room temperature, you will find it in a melted form. But if you keep it in the refrigerator, you find it as solid. Solid to liquid, heat goes into the solid as it melts. Liquid to solid, heat leaves the liquid as it freezes. Liquid to gas, heat goes into the liquid as it vaporizes. Gas to liquid, heat leaves the gas as it condenses. Solid to gas, heat goes into the solid as it sublimates. Now sublimation, condensation, evaporation, melting point, freezing point, all are new terms for you. Here are their introduction. Before learning about melting, freezing point, condensation, evaporation, sublimation, let us try to understand the other change which takes place in the matters, that is chemical change. To form a new substance, a chemical change has to happen. When one or more types of matter change into other types of matter with different properties, it is going through a chemical change. Atoms rearrange themselves to form new kinds of matter. Example: photosynthesis, digestion, rusting of elements, burning of newspaper or any other article is a chemical change. Change of color, release of heat and light, new smell, gas bubbles, the formation of a solid are all chemical change. High temperature will speed up the chemical change and low temperature will slow it down. Transition means to change. Transition means to change. States of matter can transition into another state by a variety of ways. The four main are freezing, heating, condensing, and evaporating. Freezing is when a liquid turns into a solid with cold temperatures. Water turning into ice is an example of freezing. When extremely cold temperatures are applied to a liquid, it will turn into a solid. Freezing occurs when the molecules of a liquid slow down enough that their magnetism causes them to arrange themselves into immovable positions as a solid. For example, when we put water in the freezer, it will turn into ice. Melting is when a solid turns into a liquid with high temperatures. Ice turning into water is an example of melting. Melting occurs when heat is applied to a solid and turns it into liquid. When melting, the molecules in the solid begin to relax and move around freely. For example, when chocolate is left in the sun, it will melt into liquid chocolate. Similarly, ice left on the bench will melt into water. Evaporation is when a liquid turns into a gas with high temperatures. Water boiling and turning into vapor is an example of evaporation. Evaporation occurs when a liquid is heated at a high temperature and turns into a gas. When a pot of water is on the stove and heated, the molecule in the water begins to move around rapidly and becomes excited. They move so quickly they have separate from each other and forms the liquid as steam. Condensation is when a gas turns into liquid due to cool temperatures. Water forming on the outside of glass is an example of condensation. When cold temperatures are applied to gas, the molecules in the gas will turn into a liquid. On a cold morning, water vapor can be seen collecting on the window like mist. When so much of this water vapor gathers on the cold windows, the molecules cool and slow down and join back together to create droplets of water. Sublimation is when a solid turns directly into gas without first becoming a liquid. Dry ice turning into gas is an example of sublimation. The key points to remember in this lecture: matter can exist in one of three main states: solid, liquid, or gas. Solid matter is composed of tightly packed particles. Liquid matter is made of more loosely packed particles. Gaseous matter is composed of particles packed so loosely that it has neither a definite shape nor defined volume. Thank you so much.